Good morning. Good morning. How are you? How you doing? We've already opened the chat room. As you can see, we've got Stephen Wells down below saying, let's test the journey into loving kindness, as Carl overruns by a few minutes. Very good comment. He's actually going on a bit of a coffee run for me, and it's all good. It's all good. But I love the fact that you're checking it in and like laying it on the table, Stephen. Thanks so much. So yeah, Mr. M has just done his show, and so we tag team, and usually 5 minutes is just about the right time. But he was so into what he was doing today, and you know, it's Friday. It's all cool. It's all good. Today I am joined by someone who is really, really dear to me. So this is a woman that I met about 7 years ago, and she's been in my life. She's really made a huge difference. She's my coach of choice. So this is a woman that has had a very interesting life and has had lots of different learnings along the way. And one of the things that has always really struck me about my beautiful guest Dee is her poise, and how when confronted with all different situations, she always manages to bring every situation back down to a place of loving kindness. So I'm going to bring her on now. I'm really delighted to have a sort of one-on-one chat with her. And please do feel free to just pop whatever you want into, you know, the chat. This will evolve. You know, this is a real sort of moment of, I think, intimacy and sharing. So let's bring Dee on now and let the kindness begin. Morning, Dee. How are you?
Bom dia.
Bom dia.
Bom dia. A little bit challenged by speaking about myself and having an intimate conversation on air, and I'm completely up for it.
Yep.
I'm the one that normally asks the questions. I'm a question asker rather than a speaker, so I'll be asking questions too, I expect, Louisa, if that's okay.
Feel free. Absolutely, feel free.
And yes, great. And I was very moved by your description of me. Nobody's ever told me or said to me that I have poise. It's like, whoa, that I don't know myself to be that, but hey, that's great. If you see that, that's wonderful. I love it.
I really do, actually. I really do see poise. You really sit into something. In my observation, you know, when something's going on, you deeply consider it, and for me, that's poise. Not like, you know, whether you're balanced or clumsy or anything like that, but I think it's yeah, I see that in you, definitely.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. I shall definitely think about that one. That's really lovely. Thank you.
So we've got some welcomes. So Owen Lloyd Martin is joining us from the north of Portugal with a lovely morning. We've got our good friend Sarah Taylor saying, yay, good morning.
Hi, Sarah.
Looking forward to this. Love you both. I'm pretty sure we both love you too. Yeah. Where do you want to start, Dee?
Well,
I mean, why do you think I asked you? Why do you think I asked you to join me?
Oh my God, that's a challenging question. Because we are good mates. We've got an understanding. We have very interesting conversations.
Yeah.
We're up for being transparent, you know, up for kind of going, here, this is me. This is all me and all my imperfections. Yes, me too. And also because there's some quality about us that we don't take it all too seriously. We can laugh at it, which is what I really like. We can have a bit of fun with it. And it's like,
yeah, we do.
You know, that's what I like. So it's not hugely sort of worthy and earnest and heavy. It's kind of, hopefully it's lighter than that. It's, you know, we can laugh at ourselves in all of this.
And we do, don't we?
We do. I mean, when I look back at the years, you know, when I was kind of, because I've been there, I've been all that earnest and worthy and thinking I could help everybody and just to be condescending and, oh my God, that cringy, hideous, you know. And I think you've been there, haven't you, as well, Louisa?
Definitely. When those Facebook reminders come back of where I was 10 years ago, I'm like, oh. I wish I could delete them, And then and it's thanks to you, actually. You know, there's like moments in my life where I think, oh God, was I really like that? And then I remember, and this is like, I it's almost like I call it my D ear or my D listening. You know, if I had to put a name to it, I just think, oh, and it's okay to love that part of me better. That part of me that is like hideously embarrassed, but.
Yes. Yes, because that's the thing. That's really good start for loving kindness. Because I think for me, that's the most difficult bit. I can do it in the world, and I can do it with my family to a certain extent, you know, as much as I can. But
as much as any of us can.
as much as any of us can. Yes, exactly. And the place where it's most difficult is in me, forgiving myself. You know, that loving kindness that now it feels like important to turn inside. That's the difficult bit. It's like me.
Yeah. You've just reminded me of a previous show. I can't remember which one it was, but somebody who is possibly at Sarah's house right now, called Bob. He said to me in the comments, and I just burst into tears. And he said, yeah, it took a long time to get to a place of forgiveness. And then something like this. And then I realized the only person I needed to forgive was myself. And I was like, oh,
yes, that's
we
good
get
stuff.
To do that, don't we?
We do. And I think that's so true. And I think I have this theory, or I know lots of people share it, that whatever we do into the world, which I do give loving kindness into the world, that's the thing that we need to do for ourselves. And we're not very good at it.
Yes.
So we want it, so we give it out because we want it back. Oh, somebody come in.
Yeah, Carl. I thought he was coming in with my coffee.
So a lovely hand.
Really warmly. He's to get his phone. Oh, sorry, where were we?
I can't remember. Loving kindness.
You know, what we're doing in the world is often what we need ourselves.
Oh, yes. I think so. It's what we give out. It's because we want it ourselves. And yes, doing that inwards and learning to, because I've got such a critical judge inside of me. She's very critical, very judgy. And, you know, I've had glimpses of her, and she's pretty violent too. She's pretty violent. And, you know, it's learning not just to forgive myself, but to forgive her and to love her back into some kind of wholeness. That's pretty hard. Yeah,
definitely. I've got so many questions I want to ask you, but we've got something from Sarah coming in. How would you explain loving kindness? And is there someone who showed that to you once that stands out? Oh, that's a good question.
Yes.
How would you explain loving kindness? And is there
I
someone
looked it up, actually.
Once that's done? Yeah, go on.
I looked up loving kindness, and it said, it's the quality of feeling love and being kind towards yourself and others. Pretty simple. And then it's a big tenet of Buddhism, isn't it? Loving kindness is one of their major things, you know. And that is benevolence to self and all beings. So that kind of says it, doesn't it? Benevolence to self and all beings in my world.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I really I really sort of connecting to the output, like what outcomes come from loving kindness, because for me that really shows what it is, you know. Like, so I have I'm trying to think of a really good specific example, and you know, when I looked at Sarah's question, you know, has there been someone who showed that to you that really stood out? And I can think of many moments where I've thought, oh wow, Dee, you really did it there. You really did it for me. But I can't think of anything really as a good example. But the outcome of it is that something transforms. And so that's when I know I've been hit with some real loving kindness, because all of a sudden I drop something. You know, it's like there is a mask or like some heavy armor that I've been wearing. Like some awful suit that I'm wearing, like I'm a knight or something. I can't move. I've got no flexibility. And there's a quality that I mean, because, you know, I'm going to bring my cards on the table here. You know, Dee is somebody that I go to I'm working with clients all the time. So Dee is my go-to person, and we check in once a month. And I think that's quite a good thing to do, isn't it? To have a bit of kind of light supervision and guidance and someone just to check in. But there's something about you that allows me to see where I'm being false or where I'm not being myself. And actually the effect that has, when you're not being often when we're being false, we're not realizing it. It's just a mask that we've cultivated. And I don't know, is it your gentle inquiry, your desire to hold me in positive, high regard and give me a chance to talk? I don't know what it is, but something happens and there's a sense of transformation. This is probably uncomfortable for you. So if you want to move it on to anywhere else, feel free.
So thank you. And there's something, the metaphor that comes into my head is a seesaw.
Go on.
And, with good and bad, right and wrong,
Pod and Park, I threw that in.
Yeah, all stuff, joy, sorrow, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And somewhere there's a place above it, or in the middle is a good place to be, in the middle. So if you're in the middle of I don't know how to say it without swearing.
You swear if you like, everyone else.
Okay, in a shitstorm, if you're in the middle of a shitstorm,
yeah.
It's a great place to be in the middle, to have, and just to be able to see it happening on the seesaw all around you, all this stuff going on. And so that's what I hope I do with you, Louisa, is take you out of the shitstorm or enable you to. I don't do that. You do that, but give you the space to come out of the shitstorm.
Yeah.
And just to have an idea of what's going on. And then once you start getting separation, then you get that, then the healing can start. That there's another place to stand, to be with it all. I think anyway. And I want to share a bit of loving kindness that happened to me. We can come back to that, but I want to share this while it's in my head because it was so moving for me. I don't know whether you call it loving kindness, but it seems something I want to share. So in April, we had our friend Sue come and stay with us for 3 weeks. And she's very psychic and an extraordinary woman. And the first day she was there, so a bit of history here. My middle son, Harry, died in 2000. He was 22 and he'd been ill for many years. And I cared for him for a long time. And, I beat myself up about it. I could have done more. I could have done this. Why didn't I do that? I sort of carried that around for a long time. And I had to sit with a lot of that self-forgiveness. And anyway, so she was staying with us. And the first morning, she came up to me and she touched me on the shoulder and she said, Dee, I've got Harry here. And what he's saying is, thank you, Mum. Oh, we're all going to cry now. Hang on. Thank you, Mum. You gave me a normal life. And I burst into tears for that because I did do that and I hadn't ever acknowledged myself that I'd done that. So, because the key was rusted in the lock of my house, the key was in the door 24/7 in Devon. We're talking Devon. I had a terraced house and Harry's friends came in and out day and night for 6 years. Well, no, for 10 years, in and out, in and out, in and out. They had total access to Harry. So it was like a youth club, continually like a youth club. And they played on the computer and they swore a lot and made a lot of noise. And it was great. So Harry, in that way, Harry was normal. And I felt so seen and loved and heard by that. That was really a moment of total loving kindness for me that I remember. That was so beautiful.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry. We'll have a bit of a. Yeah, actually, it's much less impact now than I couldn't tell that story without really weeping. So it's cleared a lot. So that was a really heart touching, beautiful moment that brought me back somewhere, brought something back to me. It was wonderful because I'd never seen that. I'd never acknowledged that or thought about it. It was just, I had never thought about it.
Yeah.
So it can be the simplest thing.
Yeah. And I really get that, like seeing somebody like really seeing them, like
Yes.
seeing their superpower, seeing what it is that they do so selflessly.
Yes.
And sometimes without even realizing that they're doing something really beautiful, like appreciating somebody.
Yes.
That is super powerful, isn't it?
I think so. And do you remember that quote we were looking at yesterday by that psychologist, Carl Rogers, a psychologist, about unconditional positive regard? Have you?
No, hang on.
I've got it somewhere. I've got it on a photo on my phone, I think.
Can you
that's beautiful, isn't it? That kind of says it. It's like, that's real seeing, wasn't it? He was really seeing people.
Well, if you want to, are you happy to find it? And I'll
yeah, I am. I'll find it. You carry on.
I'm gonna put out some of these lovely comments that are coming in.
Oh, great.
Sarah's saying, sometimes I've really seen this, like loving kindness from strangers before family, strangely enough. I actually think it's easier to be lovingly kind to strangers than our own family, because we've got so many like shit stories about we are in a big shit show with our families, aren't we, whether we like it or not. Even when our families go well, we've got so many expectations, failed expectations, and we put so much on each other. And there's a lot of unspoken stuff with families, isn't there? So my understanding is it's much easier to be kind to a stranger.
Yeah, it's that wonderful thing. It's like, if you think you're a spiritually advanced person, go and spend a week with your family.
Yeah. 3 days will do it, won't it?
3 days.
I mean, that's the best workout, actually, I think. Sarah saying, yes, something transforms with loving kindness. Beautiful, Dee. Jay Atkinson is joining us saying, hi, lovelies. Only just managed to get in. Get the tissues ready, Jay. So empathic. Carl is joining us this morning with lots of kisses. And Stephen saying, Dee, from that story, sounds like a bit of self-forgiveness is going on. Yes. Does it stop?
What, self-forgiveness?
Yeah. Like, can you ever get to a place, do you think, where you've completely forgiven yourself?
I don't know. I mean, my immediate answer to that, God knows whether it's true or not, is you have to be totally, in nirvana. You have to be gone out of the body. You're not gone out of the body, but, enlightened, totally enlightened to do that. But I don't know about that because I'm not. So what about you? What do you think?
Oh, crikey. No, I mean, I think you can clear lots of different things in a moment, can't you? But every fresh moment brings up a new thing. And all of a sudden you might become aware of a old previous story or an old previous trigger that you hadn't realized was important. But all of a sudden in this new moment and with a new situation, I think stuff comes up all the time.
Yes.
And it's a bit like, if people ask about unconditional love, I don't believe we can, and this is just my opinion, and I know lots of people probably disagree. I think it's aspirational. I think it's something I remind myself to do. Even as a mum, like with my kids, I love them to the absolute best that I can possibly love them, which I would love to think is unconditional love, but there's always some self involved, isn't there? There's always a condition somewhere.
Yes.
But I do my best.
I think that's it. We all do our best, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've got this wonderful story of, and it's exactly what you're saying about, 1 minute that you love them and next minute you don't. And this is about a friend who had some kind of unusual dementia. It's called Pick's disease. And he was the husband of one of my good friends in Devon. And for, I don't know how many years, 3 or 4 years, at the end of his journey with it, a group of us got together and said, we'll help you. This is my friend Trish. We'll help you, Trish. We'll take your Robin, the husband. We'll take him out, for this many days in a month or these many hours in a week. We'll help the burden, because she was full-time caring. So I used to take Robin out, and he loved to drive. So we would go out, and he didn't have the use of his arms, and he was very, unpredictable what he said. It was very unpredictable, and he could sort of shout things and do things unpredictably.
That sounds like so much fun. I love that.
It was always interesting, that's for sure. And I'd set off to go and pick up Robin. And some days we had the most gorgeous time. I loved him and I loved where we went, and all went wonderfully and it was all great. And then Robin wouldn't change. Robin would be exactly the same. And I'd pick him up and I just want to kill him as soon as he get in the car. I just want to, for God's sake, you know. And then everything he said, it's like, oh, you know, how am I going to survive this for 3 hours or whatever it is? How am I going to do it? You know, and it was very clear that he hadn't changed at all. But I knew it was me. I knew it was me projecting something onto him all the time. So he was this wonderful teacher for me. So I had to come home and really think, what was I projecting onto Robin today? Because it was dreadful. I just wanted to kill him from the moment he got in the car, you know.
What was it then?
All kinds of things. I think resentment about caring for people, you know, that sort of thing. Because there was, when I cared for Harry for 10 years, there was resentment about caring for Harry. Yeah. That there had, you know, I had to dig that one out. There were all sorts of stuff I had to dig out and wash in, you know, get them washed and put away. So it's all that sort of stuff. So there's something about the loving kindness, it for me is an internal job. And then I can do it out there, but the more I kind of wash my internal clothes and get them sorted, the more congruent I can be. And when I am doing loving kindness, it's from a place of total non-attachment to the outcome. Because I invented it as a way of being to get something, didn't I? You know, to get something back. That's what we do, I think. But the more I do it inwards and the more congruent I am, the less I'm going to want something back from the interaction.
Yeah. That's something that came up on Wednesday's show, actually, with Jay and Sarah. And Sarah said something, and I'm probably going to paraphrase it incorrectly, but she said something to I've already sort of shared the story with about 4 people. So it had a powerful effect, even if I recount it incorrectly. But she said something to the effect of, you want to watch yourself when you're being kind to somebody and you realize that you're not including yourself in that kindness. And then and Carl had commented about being demonically nice, you know, where you're really trying to help somebody and going above and beyond. And so I now realize I've got this new red flag system that I'm going to start using, or at least pay attention to. And I invite you, Dee, as a friend, and I invite anyone that knows me personally, and also Carl, if he's listening still, I invite you all to hold me accountable to this. And that is, if you see me wanting to be demonically nice, like doing something, even though it's most likely not helping me, it might not be in my interest, then point it out, because you have to put yourself first.
Yes.
And that was the point. It was like turning it inwards. And I realized, and it actually helped me solve a problem, because I've got something going on with work at the moment where I'm considering a new course of action. And I realized I was considering this new course of action because I wanted to help the people that I thought I might be disadvantaging. And it's nothing terrible I'm doing. I'm just making a choice for myself. And in that moment of making a choice to myself, I thought, wow, if I make this choice, some people might be a bit fed up or a bit hurt or might feel a bit rejected. And so in my head, I was thinking, what can I do to make sure that doesn't happen? And Carl said, you've made up a whole story there, that these people are going to have this specific reaction to a problem they don't even know they have yet.
Classic, isn't it?
He said, you've really put yourself in the center of this story. You've really made it about you. And we kind of pissed ourselves laughing. And then, you know, like echoes of what Sarah was saying. And then you as well, you know, like you were helping Robin.
Yes.
You weren't putting yourself first, or in that moment, one of your needs wasn't being met, I'm guessing, which is why some form of resentment might have been coming up.
Yes, definitely. And I didn't always nail it either. I didn't always know what was going on, but there was something, yes, that was, and I knew it was me. And I think that's a big step forward, isn't it? When you recognize it's actually not to do with them. I could have said, oh, you know, it's Robin, he's a pain in the ass, but it wasn't anything to do with Robin. Robin was just being Robin, and I could love him on other days, and the days I couldn't. Yeah, it's what we do, isn't it? It's a very interesting thing. And some people, I found this too, I don't know whether you have, Louisa, in your coaching work, that some people blame outwards. Their immediate reaction is to blame outwards. It's there. Mike's one of those, because I get the blame for everything. Whereas, everything is oh, Dee's put it somewhere, or Dee's lost it, or Dee's broken it, or
Actually, in our family, it's Carl. I don't mean to make him into a great big, what's the word, a victim, but like if something goes missing, all of us say, "Oh, Dad's moved it again."
Oh, so he's the one.
He usually has, or he has a history of it, but we keep that story going rather than finding out. Yeah, we are outwardly blaming. That's a good example.
Yes, we always do. But I think we do that, or mine is, I've got the opposite. So Mike has, wins because I blame myself. So not only does, I can't remember how it works. I never get the mechanics of it. But anyway, I blame myself. My immediate thing is, oh, I've done something
wrong.
Yes, it's me, know. And I think we've all got, one of those is dominant in us. We've all got one of those that's dominant. And that's just, everybody carries around blame. Some people put it inwards and some people put it outwards as their immediate first thing. What do you think? Do you think that's true?
Well, I do, I think, because
I think you're an internal, you're self-blamer, aren't you?
Definite self-blamer, because one of the things that Dee says to me maybe 3 or 4 times every time we see each other is, stop apologizing.
Yes, stop apologizing.
Even when things don't go wrong, but something happens, I take blame for it.
Yes.
And then again, it goes back to that sort of point I was making about trying to help people ahead of time before I even knew there was a problem that might not be a problem.
Yes.
There is a dark side to taking the blame almost religiously, because and I think I got it from Chuck Spezzano. I like to check in with Chuck Spezzano, like not personally, he's mega famous, but go to Chuck Spezzano and he's got these 3 card readings, and he's like, I think a lot of his coaching it's sort of based on the Course of Miracles, but he's got a card and he says something like, when you're internally blaming yourself, you're making the problem about yourself. And it's you're making yourself more important.
Yes,
you're making yourself crucial to every single situation. And I do see that tendency in me. And it's kind of, it makes it acceptable to be seen as, like, it's okay to be center of a problem when you're at blame almost, or when you're really sorry. But those people that are center of attention because they're like, la, 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 look at me, here I am. People tend to take a dimmer view on them. But
yes.
I've been like playing with the idea that maybe it is a bit egoic, to put myself at the blame of everything that goes wrong.
Yes.
But it's definitely a tendency of mine.
Yes, and mine too. And I think it's that, what is it, what's the book about? There's a South American guy, the 4 something or others. And the first, or one of them, one of them is
it, or no?
I've forgotten his name, but I remember the precept that, the important one is, don't take it personally, whatever's going on.
Oh, the 4 agreements. Is it the agreements?
Yes, 4 agreements, the 4 agreements. That one, don't take it personally. And that's the thing, that's the middle of the seesaw, isn't it? When you can withdraw your energy from the maelstrom that's going on and come to the middle of the seesaw, then you can see that there's another place to be, which it's or above the seesaw even, where you're not even in it, but you can see it. It's that's the place of not taking it personally, isn't it? And our journey, you and me, is that, isn't it? It's like learning to take ourselves out of it somehow and get distance from it and what's really going on.
I mean, one of the 4 agreements, I think, is be impeccable with your word.
Oh, yeah.
I realize that maybe I can't be impeccable with my word if immediately my response is, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Did I exist in that moment? I'm so sorry. Did I get in your way? Like, for real ridiculous things. I mean, when I actually look at it, it's almost as meaningless as a throwaway comment. I say it so much. I realize how ridiculous it is now, because we've got a little daughter that's caught it from me like an infection. And she apologizes all day long. And she's a dear little thing, sweet little thing. You know her. And
she is.
And she really, really means well. And I want to disabuse her of it as soon as I can. And I have to lead on that.
How do you handle it? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's such a good question, Dee. This is like your forte, isn't it? You ask great questions.
I ask
You
questions.
listen. Well, at first I started getting really irritated every time she was apologizing.
Yeah.
And I think it's because obviously I recognized myself in it. But I'd get really annoyed with her apologizing all the time for things that she had nothing to do with. Like I would do something and she'd say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mum." What the fuck for? I don't say that, but I'm like, you don't need to. Why? And I realize when she apologizes and I sit with her and I'm like, you don't need to apologize. And I think she apologizes. And this is learning for me as I'm saying it. As I'm replaying this, I realize that she apologizes. And in that moment when I'm questioning her and saying, "Why are you apologizing?" we have a moment together and we sit down and I put my arm around her. And so she might be using it, not in a conscious way, but she might be using it as a moment to get attention from me, connection from me. And then when I realize that, I think, oh, then I go into my drama and think, oh, I must try harder.
Yes.
I'm obviously not loving her well enough.
Yes. So you're blaming yourself immediately. Yes. That reminds me of the quote that I'll read in a minute, but that's really good, isn't it? So you get that moment together.
Yeah.
And you're doing what Carl Rogers says in his thing.
Really? Do you want to read it out?
So
I remember being like, wow, it's so good.
Yes. So this is Carl Rogers, who was my brain, honestly. Anyway, he was famous psychologist. And he worked with people. And then he was doing a demonstration and he had somebody to work with. And this is how he started how he starts every session.
Yeah.
Before every session, I take a moment to remember my humanity. There is no experience that this person has that I cannot share with him because I too am human. No matter how deep his wound, he doesn't need to be ashamed in front of me. I too am vulnerable. And because of this, I am enough. Whatever his story, he no longer needs to be alone with it. This is what will allow his healing to begin. I mean, I just go shivery reading the whole of that. It's just so beautiful.
It is. What bit of it makes you shiver the most? Like, what is the bit that really does it for you?
The thing about he no longer needs to be alone with it. You know, as soon as somebody's there and they can get, and he talks about unconditional positive regard. That's his phrase, I think. Somebody can give you that. That's the most enormous gift. It's like in the moment you sit down with your daughter. Can you give her and give ourselves, give it, unconditional positive regard. It's a really beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think anyway. What do you think?
Well, that was the bit that got me as well when you read it out to me 2 days ago. That they no longer need to be alone with it, because I really, really love it. And there was something that came up when I was working with a client. I had this kind of feeling that the more and I was speaking to my daughter, in fact. It was yesterday, actually. So we were out having sort of birthday celebrations in a cafe, having a coffee whilst the dry cleaning, we've had rainstorms. I can't dry my washing at the moment. So all the washing was in the tumble dryer. And we're having a quick coffee before going out for some birthday celebrations for our son. And our daughter Minnie, she got really upset about something, and she was upset that we were telling a story or sharing a story about something that had happened that she felt bad about. And we weren't actually doing anything to make her feel bad, but the memory of having she'd spun a chair around and there was a game controller on it and it fell off and then it broke. And she felt really bad about it. I had no idea this had happened. And so Digby was talking about, for my birthday, I'd like a new game controller. And And she'd made the connection it was because of that, and it wasn't, because we've got loads of busted game controllers. Thank you so much. And she was saying, don't tell the story, don't tell the story, don't tell the story. And what occurred to me in this moment, I just looked at her and said, look, when we hold on to these stories, and we won't talk about them because they feel hurt, they feel painful, we don't give people the chance to rise up and meet you. You don't give people the chance to maybe put their arm around you and say, it's okay. She had no idea whether, and it was the first I'd even heard the story, but she had no idea whether I was going to react and be angry or actually just love her more. And in suffering in silence, she was creating pain for herself. And actually, I said to her, ask everyone here how they feel about it. And she did. And we all said, nope, we don't blame you. It could have happened to anyone. And she was really amazed. And so she'd held on to this little thing and made it, blown it up into a really big story.
Yes.
And so, yeah, when in that quote, you don't have to be alone. I realize, I see myself in her, which is why I can see it, I think. But I would suffer in silence. I wouldn't ask for help because at the back of my mind, I would have this feeling that when I ask for help, it's when I ask to have my needs met, that they won't be met, or I'll be shamed for having that particular need. I think that's one of our secret shames, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I'm pretty sure everyone in this chat room will have some sense of, or have had some sense of shame about having a need, and like an embarrassment and not having it met.
Yes.
So I was really trying to. I mean, it's hard talking to a 7-year-old. It's a beautiful experience, but I was aware that maybe it was unsolicited because she just really wanted to shut down the conversation. But I hope at some point she gives me we have a chat where I'm not kind of inputting, where she comes to me a bit more. But
so I want to say something about your mothering. It's a beautiful thing watching you mother your kids, because you do it so beautifully. And that in my world, that was really touching and moving, what you did with Minnie. And I'm always impressed by how you are with them and your infinite patience. And that to me, that was the quote, which I think encapsulate loving kindness. I think that for me is loving kindness, being with somebody, and so that they're never alone with themselves. And you play it out with your children. And it's like, it's a beautiful thing to see, and I get inspired by it. I'm inspired by you a lot, watching you do what you do in your life. It's extraordinary what you do. And for me, it's like learning to do that. I love that thing about it, speaking up, isn't it? It's like not being alone, not being afraid to be ashamed, not being afraid to say it, to speak it up. And in my life, I learned to do that very early on. I mean, as a tiny baby, I learned to just, it's dangerous. I'm going to not do this. And that's probably why the alone thing triggers me so much, because, it's taken, well, it's an ongoing work that'll, God knows how it'll go on, how long it'll go on for, but, it's okay to be transparent. It's okay to show this to people. It's okay to, to show this shame and to fess up and not be alone with it. And I love that. That really speaks to me of kind of, that's loving kindness in action.
Bless you. Thank you. I love how you're, I don't know, that's you being lovingly kind. I always think when you like really sit with something, listen and observe it, and you have a beautiful way of feeding things back.
Thank you.
So it's a real talent. I want to share some more comments that are coming in. So Bob's joined us. Yeah, you should get your needs met. I've got this lovely coffee that Carl's made me.
Yeah, great.
So Bob, who I think you and Mike will probably like Bob and Viv. They're in town this weekend. So he's saying bon dia a todos. Sarah's saying, oh, this is so good. Carl's saying it's coming. That's delivered. Thank you. Love the idea of washing our internal clothes, Dee. Louisa, this would be like trying to wash someone else's clothes while we don't even have clean underwear, which I actually do. I actually ran out of underwear this week, but everyone else's washing done. That's so funny.
No, that's funny.
I actually had to hand wash them. That's so
funny.
Solar Life Portugal is saying, we're in a Catholic country. Most people blame themselves for breathing. I enjoy that a lot about Portugal. Actually, it's interesting when you were talking about blame. These flies are interesting, aren't they? Go away. Yeah. You were saying there were some people that internalize blame and some that push it out. I always think that guilt's like that as well. I remember years ago, I used to listen to Brian Tracy. I used to really like I think he had a series called The Psychology of Success. But in it, he speaks quite a lot about the personality. And he did this big session on guilt. And he said there are guilt throwers and guilt catchers. And they go together, don't they? Yeah. And actually, most of us catch and throw. But we do have a predominant style. We have a
yes, the sort of go-to, that sort of instant reaction. We either go that or that, one or the other. I think it's so. Funny, isn't
it? Talking about blame, Carl is saying, "Where did my raspberries go?"
Who ate them?
Yeah, it's one of the kids for sure. It wasn't me. So Pete's also saying people are rude, direct. Sounds like they're always arguing, but on the whole, they're really nice. That's true, actually, because we were out yesterday, and Minnie said, they sound like they're shouting at each other. It's just Portuguese people having a really nice conversation. Sarah's saying it's the 4 agreements, and Carl is saying the Pono prayer. I farted. Sorry, forgive me, I love you. We joke about it because we always get it wrong. Or I say the Hapona Pona Pona. I never know which word.
It's great.
Sarah's saying she allows you to see yourself and reflect. Yes, I see that as one of your superpowers. And she's also saying that quote. Oh,
great quote.
Best show ever. Oh wow, thank you. That's thank you so much.
Gorgeous. How lovely.
When I want to ask you, because I think it's a huge step, isn't it, to come out of this internal blaming, internal guilt catching, and internal people pleasing, like eternal people pleasing. When did that switch for you? When did you start getting into the loving kindness? I mean, was it something you read about, or did something need to drop in yourself first? Because I hadn't really come up against it particularly until I'd met you. And you clearly said to me, I practice loving kindness, or I'm a loving kindness coach. I practice loving kindness as much as I can. And I was like, oh, why is that?
Okay. So it's interesting because that's a really funny thing, because in my mind, I practice loving. It's probably the same thing, but the word I would use would be loving spaciousness rather than loving kindness.
Oh, that's even better.
Okay. It's really what speaks to me is loving spaciousness.
Can you speak some more about that? Like for some people, who aren't, who maybe don't consider what space, like why would you say loving spaciousness?
Exactly. I wish I knew the answer.
Well, for a lot of people, that they think of space as being like in a room.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I feel I need to quote Rumi for some reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but this inspires. This is something about space. I hope I can remember it. So it's awake, my dear. Be kind to your sleeping heart. Take it out. Take it out into the vast fields of light and let it breathe. So, that totally speaks to me. It's like taking our hearts, which are sleeping mostly, and letting them just breathe in the huge spaciousness of all that is. And when I see myself in that place, I can kind of picture it. I'm running and dancing and free in a way that I'm not that in myself at all. There's this other place where I can be this really free spirit and just let rip and let my heart out and give it the spaciousness that it wants and needs. And I have no idea where that comes from or what that means, but you know, it inspires me. And wouldn't that be great if I could help other people? That sounds very patronizing. If I could walk with other people who wanted the same thing as me.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
You know, I don't know why I said that, but that's what came. And I don't know when I started, or I mean, I made up very early on that in order to be loved, I had to be good and look after other people and put my own needs way down the list. So I learned that as a tiny baby. That was immediately there, and I learnt how to that had people love me or like me, you know. So that was my instant sort of make-up way of being, and I was popular because I decided that as a story that worked for me, you know. But what didn't work was I wasn't popular with myself. Oh, what's happening?
Jimmy's trying to bust in. Hang on.
Oh.
Sorry, Jim.
Have a slurp of tea while that's going on.
He'll just jump into the show and like
yes.
He's knocked lights over and all sorts before.
He wants to take part, bless him.
Yeah, he has to stay out. Sorry.
So, what was I waffling on about? I can't remember.
Like you made up the decision that you needed to be good.
Yes.
And that you were popular as you were growing up because you were playing to that, I guess.
Yeah, that
you
role.
had a really good strategy or a really good role that really worked.
Yes. So
go on.
Yeah, so in the loving kindness, I think it was beginning to start. Oh, so 20 years ago. Oh no, before that, long before that. I don't know. I'm so bad at remembering my journey, but you know, the realization gradually has dawned that I need to do it to myself inside and not just outside. I'm the one that needs loving back into wholeness.
Beautiful. When you were talking about the space, I was wondering what you were going to say actually, because I've got some thoughts on what spaciousness feels like. I love that you kind of take your heart out and are in this open field and you're running free. And for me, when I think about if I've got some kind of emotion or feeling and it feels quite oppressive, it feels like my body's like curling up in on itself. I feel like I've got no space to breathe, nothing.
Okay.
And so I just start imagining there's more space in my body. And then all of a sudden I feel, it's like taking a bra off, you know, like a tight bra or a tight pair of shoes off.
It's bliss, yeah. I love that. Yeah. So like swimming naked in the sea.
Oh, yes.
That's a great one.
Nice. Yeah, it's very relaxing, isn't it? So it's like, how can I feel more space in myself? How can I create? It's almost like a relief, which is why earlier on, you know, when I was saying, you know, I've felt relief when you've helped me see what mask or persona I was carrying. When you take it off, there is that relief because, you know, I think all these labels and these masks at some level are restricting us. They're holding us into this little way of being. Yes. I remember years ago, actually, I was on a neuro-linguistic programming teaching course. And I was like one of the helpers and they needed a volunteer for something. And I said I wanted to give up drink, which, as you know, obviously I haven't. But and at the time he said, "Are you sure that's what you want to do?" And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." And I couldn't work out why he was saying, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And actually, I thought he was kind of putting me off my purity, or you know, I felt a little bit offended. But what he was actually saying was, you're not giving yourself choice. Like he said, if you choose to not drink, you'll be a non-drinker. And then your whole life will be from that perspective of not drinking.
Yeah.
And he said, how would it be for you to have choice, you know, to be able to go somewhere and think, yeah, I'll have a drink, or no, I won't have a drink. Because it wasn't like a huge issue for me at that time. It was just, I really wanted to make this label. I really wanted to be this person. And very recently, I think I came around to you and I said, oh yeah, I'm giving up sugar, which lasted all 5 days or so. And in that moment, you know, oh, I'm serious. I'm not having any sugar. No. Get that sugar. But you put yourself in a label straight away. And the moment you're labeling something, some form of tightness comes around you.
Yes.
So for space, for me, it's like,
yeah. Yeah, that's very good. It's very tight space, isn't it? It's a very tight, restrictive space, isn't it? I am this or I am that. And we do it all the time, don't we?
Yeah, we don't give ourselves a choice to choose how we want to be in every single moment.
And that spaciousness, isn't it? If we let go of the labeling, then that truly is spaciousness.
I think there's it occurs to me that if we choose to let go of our labels and choose to be a bit freer of it, we also have to step up and trust that we're up to the job. Because the reason I wanted to stop drinking alcohol was because I didn't trust myself that I could make intelligent decisions in the moment. I obviously had a fear that if I didn't do that, I might screw up, or I might like, I don't know, go on a wild weekend and then wake up like 4 days later and going, what? Where am I? I had some wilder moments in my earlier years. So I think if we allow ourselves to have choice, it must also mean that we trust ourselves.
I mean, nothing's, what's the word? You know, when you invent something new, if you invent something new, there's always all the bits where it doesn't, you know, that it isn't so, that come smash you in the face, isn't it? So if you invent non-labeling or, you know, spaciousness, then all the bits of you that aren't that are going to come up. So it's, you know, it's not like a simple journey, is it? There's always, oh God, there's another thing to deal with, and I haven't transformed this bit, or I did it. You know, I've done it so many times and it's come back again on another level. That's the thing, is it? You think, oh, you know, I've scraped the bottom of the barrel now, I'm all done, you know, and I'm la 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 la, and then, you know, next minute, whoosh, it comes back, and it's, oh, I've been there so many times.
There's an even deeper part of the barrel for scrape, Dee.
The barrel's even bigger, and it just keeps getting bigger.
Well, I mean, that's like, you know, when I asked you about self-forgiveness, does it ever stop? You know, I guess the only thing, like, we can't aspire to be fully forgiven in ourselves or to be completely unconditional in our love, but we can trust that whatever comes up, we can do the best bit of forgiveness and the best bit of love that we can do.
That's to beautiful. I love that. It's really lovely. It's made me go tingly. That's it, isn't it? That's it. And do you know what that is as well? I get from that beautiful quote is, when we do that, when we learn to be the partner of ourselves, you know, what bit of us that is, it could be our soul or our, I don't know what it could be, but I look at it as like my soul has got my hand and I'm never alone. So that's that moment of us looking after ourselves, because nobody else is going to do it. It's down to us. And when we learn that we can grasp our hand internally, that's the most beautiful thing. And I mean, I forget it all the time, and, you know, but to come back to that thought, that means it's always in our power to transform it into something beautiful. And I mean, you know, it might take a day or an hour or 3 weeks or a year to transform it, but that is always there, that thing. Or 70 years in my case. So I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it? That we have always got that power. We're not victims. We think we are, but we're not.
Wow. Now that's almost a good point to end the show on, but I'm aware that the chat room's almost been in a stunned silence for about 10 minutes, which is really unusual. Like, we normally have more people coming in asking questions and stuff. So I just want to, I don't know, I want to talk a little bit more about where the journey of loving kindness goes. You know, like, we were trying to work out where it started. I think my first conscious awareness, I guess, like getting into the right relationship, was a loving kindness as well.
Yes.
When we were talking about family and how that's how you realize how enlightened you are or how okay you are with things. It's the same with an intense relationship, isn't it? Or a loving relationship.
Yes.
I always notice that when we have a really great day and we create a lot of safety for ourselves and it feels so good, you can almost guarantee that the next day there's this like massive crash down to earth because and at first I thought, oh my God, how can we be so like that? But then I realized that those big crashes occur, like in those, like when Carl and I were talking about some of these big crashes that we sometimes have, not so frequently now, but it's always because one of us talks a little bit more openly and we might like reveal some like hidden resentment or something like that. But the day before we're in such a trusting place and such a place of lightness and kindness. I think when you create a sense of safety, like you're saying, like life will bring you up a deeper bit to deal with. For the next day, you can almost guarantee. So sometimes if we have a really great time, we joke to ourselves and say, okay, brace yourselves.
Brace yourself. It's coming.
We almost know it's coming. But
definitely. That's the way it works, I think. Because you, like you said, you open you open yourself a little bit more, and in comes the stuff that isn't resolved around that thing that you opened yourself up to. You're kind of inviting it in almost, aren't you? And it's like, oh, here we go. But it feels like that's the job. That's what we're here to do. That's the job, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Carl is saying, and this is really lovely, such lightness and loveliness here this morning. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. How gorgeous. Really thank you, Carl. Bless you.
I mean, that is really, really kind because like for Carl, a lot of his comments are kind of jokey, aren't they? So that really means something.
It's really nice. Thank you. Because it wasn't the easiest thing for me to come and do this, but I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Louisa. I've enjoyed myself.
Oh, I mean, so would you like to come back another time? And
I'd love to. If you'll have me, I'll love to.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's a given. I realized like you shared a little bit about Harry.
Yes.
And that, you looked after him for a really, really long time.
I did.
And it strikes me that there's probably a lot of wealth and experience and wisdom that you've got that might be useful for people who've lost somebody or for people who are caring for somebody. I'm aware, and also like a help for people who who are almost putting someone else's needs first, and how you kind of deal with that. And I as I understand it, you did a lot of that on your own as well before you met Mike.
I did.
So if you're happy to talk from the heart about more things, I would absolutely love that. And
definitely, of course, I'm very happy to do all of that. And it inspires me in the fact that people don't need to be alone with it. I was alone with it and it felt really hard. So people don't need to be alone with it.
That's
lovely.
Wow. It's one of those moments where I can't really talk. Fear I might burst into tears. Well,
okay.
I just want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it a lot.
It's been really, really lovely, sort of like this lightness, this sharing. It is such a kind of all-encompassing subject that touches on so much, and I love the way you do it.
I don't know how much we've talked about loving kindness, but anyway, it was whatever it was fun. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being there, in our lives, shining your light, shining your light.
There was one more thing I wanted to do actually, and I totally forgot to do it. Hang on, because after Wednesday's show, I got this lovely, beautiful message from Owen, who watches, and he wrote a poem about the Barefoot Broadcast, but also about sisterhood. Let me just, I think it'd be a really nice end for the week ahead. Let me just download it quickly. Oh, I don't know if I can download it. Oh, sorry, Owen, I've messed it up. Hang on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read it out, if that's all right. Can you still hear me okay? Yep.
I can.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So this is a poem from Owen, and he said, "This is the finest yet to date to the sisterhood." So, okay, this is his finest poem so far. He says, "In the realm of the airwaves, where beats and rhymes reign, a sisterhood of ladies, their bond does remain. The Barefoot Broadcast, a collective of grace, with energy and vibes, they light up the place. Their hearts beating as one, their voices as a choir. Together, they weave a tapestry of pure desire. Their messages of love and hope they do impart, a beacon of light in the darkest of hearts. With every word they speak, they ignite a spark, a flame that burns bright and never goes dark. Their passion and creativity, a work of art, a testament to the power of a sister's heart. Their bond is strong, their spirit's free, a sisterhood that's built to last, you see. Through laughter and tears, they stand as one. The Barefoot Broadcast, a shining sun." By Owen.
Lovely. Lovely. How
Yeah.
gorgeous is that?
It's really gorgeous. I'm moved to tears again. So on that bombshell, I'm going to need to go. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today and for your comments, your questions, and for your love. We feel it. Thank you so much, Dee. I'm now doing it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until the end of the year. So if you've got any ideas of what you'd like Dee to talk about or other people, then just get in contact. Let me know. If you've got something you want to talk about, then also let me know. There's probably space. But I just really, really value everybody. And this sense that there's a bit of a growing community. We're all light-hearted souls. I think we all want the best for everyone, and we all want to feel good and be part of an ongoing conversation. So I really love and I see you, even though I don't, because you're in the chat room. But anyway, so much love. Oh, thank you again, Dee.
Thank you.
And have a beautiful weekend, and hopefully I'll catch you again on Monday at 10:05. Anyway, lots and lots of love to you all. Thanks for joining us today. Bye for now.